The MCU's newest movie, Captain America: Brave New World, is finally in theaters, so here are my thoughts on it. Hello everybody, my name is Jesse and welcome to my channel. Captain America: Brave New World is the MCU's newest film and the very first solo Captain America movie starring Anthony Mackie in the role. I was finally able to check this movie out, so today I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. I did not go into this movie with extremely high expectations to begin with. I thought it was going to be kind of more in the middle tier of the MCU, and unfortunately, I actually didn't quite meet those expectations. This movie was actually just a bit worse than I expected it to be, which doesn't happen a lot with movies for me, and I was just really disappointed with this entire movie. And it's unfortunately one of my least favorite MCU movies now. There are a few different reasons for that, and I'll get to that in a bit, but I want to start with the positives because there were a few things that I did genuinely enjoy about this movie. First and foremost, I did like Anthony Mackie in this role. I think Sam Wilson is a worthy successor to Steve Rogers as Captain America. I think the Falcon and Winter Soldier Disney Plus show set that up really well, and I think him finally getting his first solo movie as Captain America, I think he did a good job, and I am excited to see more of him in this role. I think he did great. He's got a lot of great moments, especially when he's in conflict with Harrison Ford's Thaddeus Ross, and I think there's some okay action with his character throughout the movie. I also really loved his relationship with Isaiah throughout the film. I thought he was a fantastic character, one of my favorite characters in the movie, and I think they showed that relationship fairly well. I think that was one of the highlights of the entire film for me. Harrison Ford was really good as President Ross, and I think he was again a good follow-up to the late William Hurt that played him well in the previous MCU movies. I think Harrison Ford did a good job, and I think this movie did a good job of kind of calling back to a lot of the lore from some of the other Marvel movies like The Incredible Hulk and The Eternals, and a lot of people have been calling this kind of a sequel to The Incredible Hulk, which I understand there's a lot of things that they do call back to in that original film, and this can kind of feel like that at times, but not really. I'll go a lot more into that in my spoiler review coming later this week, because there's a lot of things with that I can't talk about here. But honestly, when it comes to big positives, that's really about it. There are a few other things that I will talk about in my spoiler review that I really enjoyed. One cameo in particular. But really, everything else about this movie really disappointed me, so let's get into the negatives. And I think the most obvious way this movie was really disappointing to me was the plot was just really boring. I didn't find myself super intrigued or interested by the plot. About halfway through the movie, I want to say, I found myself really trying to stay interested. It was a bit difficult to keep myself interested in the film quite a few times. It was just kind of going through it. Nothing in this movie really felt like it super mattered. I didn't really feel any huge stakes. I did not like the villains of this movie. I thought the villains were really poorly executed, and I think it was also partly the trailer's fault. I mean, the trailers really marketed several of the villains here to be really big threats that were going to have really high stakes and take up a large chunk of the screen time, and they really didn't. I did not like the way that they were executed, and once again, I'll go a lot further into that in my spoiler review, but I didn't like the villains of this movie, and that's a bummer because I was really excited, especially about one of them, and you can probably tell which one I'm talking about because he was marketed heavily in the trailers, but with seeing the final product, it just really kind of left a bad taste in my mouth and did not leave me with a satisfying ending. It just really kind of disappoints me that they spent so much money on this movie. They had a massive budget because of so many reshoots and rewrites to try and fix things that were failing in test screenings, and then it still came out as a dissatisfying mess of a movie that is really forgettable. I'll probably forget a large portion of this movie within the next couple of weeks, and it's not one that I see myself wanting to rewatch a lot in the future. So I think that's really about it for my non-spoiler review. Those are just kind of my general thoughts on this film. I didn't love it. Like I said, it's definitely near the very bottom of my list. I'll have a spoiler review coming later this week, as well as a ranking of all 35 MCU movies. So stay tuned for that. And until then, what do you think of this movie? Let me know down in the comments below. Like this video, share it with your friends and family, subscribe to my channel. It would really mean a lot to me. And keep watching movies.